Welcome to the Homeownership podcast presented by Momentum Realty, located in Hanover, Massachusetts. This series covers all things real estate and the best practices for buying, selling, and owning properties. Now here's your host, Sean Maloney.
Welcome to episode 114, Tips and Tricks to Reviewing Multiple Offers. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Maloney. Thanks for joining me this week. This week I want to talk to you about the exciting time of dealing with multiple offers. Right now, a lot of sellers get really excited by the word multiple offers, but they don't really know what it means, and then they don't know what it's going to feel like when they actually hit that problem. And why do I say problem? Because it's a decision. It's a big decision. It's a decision that has to do with tons of money. It's a decision that has lots of variables, and it's a decision that can totally change your entire life of how it's going to run for the next few months and possibly for the entire future. If you choose the wrong one, you risk going bad. You choose the right one, you risk losing the right one to things in the future. What do I mean? There's lots of ways to find success, and I'm sure I can guide you, as well as my agents here at Momentum Realty. Our Move Mentors could guide you. I certainly would not take it on myself. FSBO right now, a lot of people think, oh, it's easier than ever to sell a home. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that it's possible that if you marketed a home greatly that the price could be different? If the answer is yes, then you probably want to hire a real estate agent. Never mind the fact of negotiating the waters of a multiple offer situation, or also known as a bidding war. Do you want a bidding war? Yes. Do you want to deal with a bidding war? I'm not sure. I can tell you some agents I know, they can barely even handle it. I've talked with agents recently that don't work for my company, trying to work with them, and they don't even get what to do. And it's very blatant and very obvious because they make these key errors, as well as some for sale by owners that I personally know have made some crucial errors as well. Today I'm going to teach you to avoid those errors. So first off, offers. Offer to purchase is a great thing. It's a contract to purchase or offer of purchase. It's when the buyer gets so interested in your property that they want to make an offer. They want to buy it. So they're giving you the terms set forth on that offer. One of the things I want to point out to you is not all offers are created equally. There's multiple different things that go into an offer. One of the other things that comes in with an offer is a pre-approval or a pre-qualification. First and foremost, let's hit that since it's a side document. Pre-qual versus pre-approval. Pre-approval wins all day long. Why? Because on a pre-qualification, it says most of the time that stuff that you have there is stated and that you have to prove it further. Whereas almost all pre-approvals, depending on the conditions listed, obviously, are pre-vetted. It's saying that they've already checked your taxes on a soft level, or it's saying that they've already checked your W-2s, or it's saying that they've already checked your credit. They're checking different ththings versus verifying through your mouth, which is why a pre-qual can be one of the first things as a buyer you'll want to change. As a seller looking at these, immediately you want to sort out in your brain the pre-approval versus the pre-qualifications. Last but not least, it may come in, if you're lucky enough, as a certified proof of funding. When you look at a proof of funding, you really don't want to see it on like a Microsoft Word document. You want to see it on a real letterhead from a company. Your agent, as well as yourself, should really verify that information there. You should probably reach out to the person's institution and verify that it's actually available and actually in that account. I've had people try to dupe the brokerage with Microsoft Word documents. Not sure what the point is, because obviously if you say you're going to buy cash, you have to come up with the cash at the end, but realize it is out there. Now let's talk about the offers. One of the first things everyone wants to do is find out how much money was offered to them. But sometimes it can lead to silliness, right? Because we're chasing after how much money was offered to me, but we're not paying attention to everything else that was offered to you. What are some of the other things that are offered? So let's work our way down a contract to purchase. First, we have the total amount of purchase price. Next, we have the total amount of deposit at the contract to purchase, as well as the total amount of deposit at the purchase and sale agreement. Now, mind you, deposit is money at risk. If it's not down payment, later on in the game, that money is hiding out in a bank account known as an escrow account. And yes, it does end up becoming that buyer's down payment or closing costs or prepaids or refund check to them. But for now, it's in the deposit stage. What does that mean? It's money at risk. So between here and home inspection, a lot of times we'll see 500, maybe 1,000, maybe even more. That money is at risk if the person walks away. But anytime they have something called a contingency, it is contingent, meaning the offer relies on that item happening. So there's different contingencies people put in to protect their said deposits. So first off, we have our deposits. Typically, old school real estate, when everyone was 20 down, it used to be 5% by purchase and sale agreement. Now we say put your best foot forward, and in a multiple offer, trying to win a bidding war, a lot of people are upping the deposit level to show their level of commitment. Reminder that you're not going to be able to keep that as a seller unless there is something that goes wrong in the contract. As far as what I mean by wrong, they simply decide they don't want the house anymore. They walk away from their deposit. But if, say, they have a mortgage contingency and they don't get that mortgage, then they would get their deposits back. So now let's talk about the next section. So we have things like how long between the offer and the purchase and sale agreement. If they're not doing a home inspection, which is their option, it may be shorter. If they're doing a home inspection, it's maybe longer. Typically, somewhere right around 10 to 12 days out, you'll be signing that purchase and sale agreement, and that's where they drop that home inspection contingency most often. It's not that they drop it, but it's that it's already been completed by the time they go to purchase and sale agreement. Now, the home inspection, lots of times they give themselves 10 days from the offer acceptance, or if it's new construction, from the completion where they get the certificate of occupancy. When you're looking at the home inspection clause, some of the brokerages will be using clauses to say that the seller is not responsible for any repairs up into, and they might put a number, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. The Massachusetts standard realtor form has on it that is within what they consider to be acceptable. So what's the risk behind this? What is not acceptable condition to somebody? They don't have a dollar amount. Each one of these things, the dollar amount is better than the no dollar amount. And guess what? Satisfactory results can be tough. If you don't make satisfactory results, they can walk away. Even further than doing a dollar amount more, sometimes buyers will completely forgo the home inspection. For a lot of sellers, this is very attractive because it means the deal is a little further the way along, and a little bit of the stress is removed by the idea of what's wrong with my home. Now, when you're in a no home inspection thing as a seller, if you see one that says for informational purposes only, get scared. Don't think it's as valuable as no home inspection. Because when they say for informational purposes only, let me ask you a question. Why couldn't they just do it when they own the house if it's for their information only? They're trying to worm their way around in there. Now, there's arguments for deposits, but honestly, in the state of Massachusetts, it's very difficult to keep an offer deposit after a bad home inspection, even when they say it's for informational purposes, because it's only $1,000. And by the time you argue in court, you've put a lot more time, energy, and effort into it, so just keep that in mind. But always, if someone's dropping a home inspection, you really want them to fully drop it and not do the for informational purposes only. Now, never suggest dropping a home inspection, but we're talking seller side reviewing offers. It's a great bonus to not have that home inspection. Now, next up, what do we have? We have the ability to do a lead paint test. Now, this is where Massachusetts has it wrong, because I can say to you, if you check off that lead paint box as a buyer, the sellers obviously, if they're pre-1978 construction, are concerned that they could possibly fail, just like home inspection. So unfortunately, that sheet is due at offer time. If your agent didn't get those for you, you're working with a really bad agent, I do see that out there. You want to know at offer what inspections they plan on doing. Now, I can't advise you to take or not take an offer by lead paint because that would be illegal. But I know it's common with sellers to want to put any of their unassurance at rest by not taking those. I don't advise it because I do think there's some fairness to lead paint laws, and I do think that more people should be doing them and that we should take care of it, because ultimately if you come into possession of a house and then you go to transfer it, eventually as people get more health conscious, I think those will become more common. Another thing we have there, we have the mortgage contingency. If you're a cash buyer, you don't need a mortgage contingency. That's huge because it's saying it's not contingent upon any financing. What does this mean? It means that they can't take their deposit back for any reason. So if they drop their inspection, they drop their mortgage, they drop the appraisal, we could be sitting there basically from start to finish without any concerns. So the mortgage contingency in it says how much you need to borrow, and it also says what date you need to apply by and what date the bank needs to commit by. Now, the mortgage contingency is something that some people are like feeling like they can just drop it because they need to just make their offer look better, but they're still getting a mortgage. So make sure your agent is good about fanning out these things and checking in on people and making sure they're not just playing cute and hiding the mortgage contingency because they think it's surefire that they're going to get it. Because at the end of the day, if the buyer can't react, if a problem happens, similar to for informational purpose only inspections, there's a reason it's there. So we always want to make sure that the paperwork is correct. Now, just because it's a cash deal does not mean that there is no appraisal. If there's no mortgage contingency and there's no mortgage, then the buyer would certainly have to pay for an appraisal, but there's nothing saying that they couldn't have an appraisal contingency. Waiving the appraisal contingency in an upward trending market for a seller, a lot of times this is a clear winner. Why is it a clear winner? Because it's a done deal. The problem is, as a seller right now, when the market is so hyper accelerated, a lot of times a thing called appraisal. The appraisal is where the bank or a person pays a person that goes out and tells you the value of the property. They're not an agent, they're not a town tax person, they're a whole separate thing, the appraiser. They go out and tell them the value. So if the value's off, this is a time, if it has an appraisal contingency, where somebody could argue with you the value as a seller and try to renegotiate, or they could walk away with their deposit because they have an appraisal contingency. So the waiving of an appraisal contingency can be massively powerful in this upward trending marketplace when you don't know if the number's going to work. If you met with your agent early in the game and they did a comparative market analysis and they showed you everything, and then you blew that out of the water, that means that you have no comps. What are comps? Comparable properties. So there's nothing to comp it out to. So ultimately, this means when the appraiser comes, they're not going to be able to find that perceived value, and you could not appraise out. And this could be a massive issue way late in the game, putting you back on the market. I just want to say to y'all, I can tell you're an educated person. You're here listening to the podcast. I know you're trying to do the right thing. Do not go at it alone. Do not go at it with an inexperienced or untrained agent. Reach out to us over here at Momentum Realty. One of my Move mentors will help mentor you through the whole process of figuring out the way to take the best offer in a multiple offer situation and win that bidding war on the other side. If you're a seller today, congratulations. It's an amazing time to sell. Just like I said, though, really don't take it too lightly and work with the best. Make sure to tell your friends and family about this podcast. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Check out our Facebook group, our newsletter, as well as our blog, all found under the name Homeownership. Thanks again for listening today, and I look forward to talking to you next week.